Chapter 21. Livermore Evanston watched the creature through the thick glass wall. No matter how long he stared at the things, he could never get enough of them. His geneticist told him the same thing was true about the study of their genetic code, and they had similar adjectives to employ. Fiendishly clever. The bug had been drugged by a gas, and the mist of the stuff still clung to the chitin of its ventral section. This one happened to be a genetic parent to the altered replicants down in the tanks. There had been another bug, another batch, but for some reason those had not worked out so well. In fact, one had managed to escape with a gun, of all things. It had long since disappeared, but Evanston had been gratified to learn of its discovery. Apparently the other mysterious alien life form that visited this planet had killed it, which was just as well. The bug's helmet-like head stirred. Its secondary jaws were extended, and Evanston marvelled at the hard black of its teeth and jaws. The creatures, his scientists had reported, had the approximate intelligence of dogs. Alas, however, unlike dogs, they could not be trained. When Evanston had bought his first bug, obtained on Ryushi after the calamitous infection there, he'd seen its potential immediately. But the genetic work on it had taken years and an incredible amount of money. Evanston had seen immediately that this work could not be done with the company's knowledge. Evanstonville was already in the works, and so it was a natural choice to establish the bug project there. He'd searched for a cornerstone of conquest, and these cybernetic warriors surely were it. Cybernetics, that was the key, and Livermore Evanston had seen possibilities, if not the actual biotechnical details, immediately. Breed the things for higher intelligence, to be connected to hyperneural tech transducers and synaptic shunts. Stick on machines, wire up the correct programs for radio control, design armor and weapons. Result? Efficient, almost unstoppable warriors of the future. An army with which to conquer worlds. In school was where Livermore Evanston had dreamed of conquest. Not military school, but business school. It had been his hobby. He'd played computer war games. He'd fought all the great battles, from Waterloo to Gettysburg, from the Battle of the Bulge to the Battle of the Millennium. And as his ties with the company grew, he began to see the potential for his dreams of absolutely boundless power. The company had little vision. They were bean counters. Evanston, however, saw the potential. Economic might was just the springboard. With the energy of scientific breakthroughs, all the way from faster starships to this marvellous genetic razzle-dazzle, the proper kind of mind could unlock the keys to the universe. Livermore Evanston knew human history. Humankind was destined for this kind of conquest. If he didn't spearhead this effort through the means at hand, then surely some other great mind would, if not this century, then next. The stars were in reach, but the stars had to be grasped. The history books were open, and there was a gaping blank there. If he didn't write Livermore Evanston in them large, then someone else would. And maybe too late. These new races, they were frightening, and they had to be nipped in the bud. Get them before they got humanity. What better way to kill them, and use the best, most terrifying qualities of one of them in the process, than to combine them into one easily controlled being? It had been a stroke of genius that had been his genetic engineer's, not his, but he'd hopped into it quickly and immediately implemented it into the growth of Evanstonville. He thought, however, that he'd have more time. Oh well, he was not a stupid man. From the time he was a little boy, under the tutelage of robots and virtually ignored by his parents, he'd seen life as a playing field of diverging possibilities. If something went wrong, you tried another tactic. It was unfortunate about Noguchi. His hope for her had been that she would not only command his mercenaries in their efforts to control escaped bugs, but that she'd seek out and destroy the other race that had visited Livermore Land. It had been with his discovery of oddments of alien armor and clothing upon settling this planet that he'd realized that Evanstonville would need a significant security force, proper fences and armament. He knew on a gut level that she dealt with the monsters before, and had betrayed them. After a few years of employ, he would gradually introduce the augmented warriors, and she would train them, and finally, perhaps, she would even become one of his right-hand generals. Alas, it was not meant to be. She was out in the wild, probably doomed. If the bugs didn't get her, then the thing she'd betrayed surely would. She didn't have her android buddy to help her now either. The idiot's body was off on one of the scientist's tables. He'd have it dissected and analysed later. Right now there were other things to deal with. As Evanston looked at the creature behind the glass, a recurring vision suddenly rose before him. He saw himself in a proud starship in space, commanding a flotilla of vessels. From planet to planet would these vessels step, and upon each one, should it not surrender, should he need ground troops, he had only to let loose these creatures, controlled from afar. Let loose the dogs of war. And then he could remake human civilization according to the ideas he knew were correct. His personal comm button sounded. He sighed. There were many things to deal with before that time, but oh, when it came, it would be glorious. It would put all other human visions of conquest to shame. Suddenly, without warning, as he was about to answer the comm, the bug leaped at Evanston. It smashed into the reinforced glass, snarling and shrieking. It was as though it knew the purposes for which its species was being used. Evanston flinched, but he did not move. He pressed a button that would summon more gas down upon it and quiet the thing. Then he answered his comm.